UBC Radio Network, your national preferred choice. We broadcast all over Uganda and beyond. Join us on 98 FM in Kampala, 99.4 FM Lira, and 97.4 FM Arua. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Welcome to Ground Zero program this Saturday. We are with you up to midday. This time around, we are going to focus on the Ministry of Water and Environment as they celebrate the Water and Environment Week. The celebrations have been taking place across the country and will end up with national activities at Luzira this weekend. The theme for this year's events is Water and Environment for Climate Resilient Development. Our guest is Dr. Calist Tindimugaya, the Commissioner for Water and Environment. I'm your host, Henry Baguma, standing in for Mr. Amoni Ampaire Ortega. Let me request our guest to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm called Dr. Calist Tindimugaya. I'm a Commissioner for Water Resources Planning and Regulation in the Ministry of Water and Environment, and I'm glad to be here and to share with Ugandans issues related to water and environment and the upcoming Uganda Water and Environment Week.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Specifically within that area, water and environment, these are two different words. Can you make a Ugandan understand where is the difference, who does what? Water and environment. Maybe you can start with water and whatever.
Okay, thank you very much. Water and environment are actually like brothers and sisters, or two sides of the coin. If I can start with water, water is something which all of us are familiar with because we deal with it every day. We drink water. Without water, we cannot survive. One can actually survive for many days without food, but without water, you cannot survive. Water is needed for cleaning, is needed for washing, for bathing, needed for cooking. Everything we do at home revolves around water. Water is needed for irrigation, for agriculture, through irrigation or rain-fed agriculture. Water is needed for hydropower generation. Most of our power generation in Uganda is actually through hydropower generation. So this is where you bring water to turn the turbines and generate power. Right. Water is needed for industries. In many areas, people take water, mineral water. That's actually water that is bottled and people are drinking. Water is also used to make beer. 96% of beer is water. Water is used also to make soda. 95% of soda is water. So water means a lot to us. Now, water cannot exist without the environment. The environment.
Some people are saying water is life.
Indeed, water is life.
Where is the source of that statement?
Yes, water is life because without water, you cannot have anything living. For example, trees will die if there is no water. That's why you find the trees drying in the dry season. So there is no life in the trees. Animals will die because there is no water. That's why you see animals dying in a drought period. Even individuals will die. But even when the water is polluted, it will kill people. It will cause diseases. So to say water is life means water is everything. There is no being, whether human or animal or plant, that can survive without water. And that's why we say water is life. It touches every life and it is a key for survival. So as I was saying, the environment...
Just before we go there, I still want to exhaust this issue of water. Many people, when you talk about water, they look at the liquid, particularly the tap water and that one which we get from the open wells.
Yes, water, of course, again occurs in various forms. We have water that is found in lakes, in rivers, and wetlands. We normally call it in scientific terms surface water because it is close to the surface. But we have water that is found underground. We call it underground water. This is the water which is utilized when you drill a borehole or you protect a spring or construct a well. So water occurs in various forms. But we also have water that occurs as rainfall. So again, it occurs in different forms. But the most important thing is that once it reaches the surface, then it meets the various needs, and those needs have to actually be harmonized for water to support them now and in the future.
So all the water is natural?
Well, all water is natural because the water comes from rainfall. It starts as rainfall. And then when it rains, it comes to the surface. Some of it runs on the surface into lakes and rivers. That's the water we see running in rivers and lakes after it has rained. But some of that water goes underground to form soil moisture, and this is the soil moisture that keeps crops growing. Some of it goes deeper underground to reach the more water we call the deeper groundwater. So that's the one that is normally tapped through construction of boreholes and shallow wells.
Okay. What are major sources of water, for example, here in Uganda and globally? Or are there many sources, or there is a single source that is rainfall?
Yes, in Uganda, largely rainfall the source of water, but water can actually come from other sources. For example, water we use comes from rainfall, but in other areas we find that water is actually coming from, say, other, like the sea water. So you find that sea water is actually flowing into the fresh water, but also we can get water by desalinating saline water. So water, principal source of water is rainfall, but then water changes form. When it is it evaporates, then you may find that actually it has some materials in there, some particles in there that become concentrated, and then that water becomes salty. But all of it, the source of water is rainfall, but it changes forms. As some of it, as I said, is on the surface, some of it is underground, some of it is in the shallow part, which is soil moisture, but at the end of the day, it's the source. Even when you say that water is coming, say, from an ocean or saline water, it all starts as rainfall.
What about the rain? Because many people are listening to us, including students. How is rain formed?
Now, rain is formed through many processes. One, for example, we have what we call local rain. That is formed when, for example, you get the trees. When it shines, the trees will evaporate or transpire. It will send moisture up. Then once that moisture goes up, it will condense and come down as rain. So we call it local rainfall. And that's why we are saying that you plant trees, you restore wetlands because you want to make sure that you have rain. Areas which you don't have trees are deserts. So that's why we are saying that, and that's why we are promoting planting of trees so that we can have that rainfall formation. But then we have rainfall that actually is sent through wind. Wind can move moisture, for example, say from Kenya, and then it comes in Uganda. And then when it reaches Uganda, it may come as hot moisture. Then when it reaches Uganda, it finds the conditions are colder. Then it condenses. It forms rainfall. So we have local rainfall, but also have rainfall that actually comes from far. So wetlands, forests produce that rainfall that we get. But once that moisture comes up, it can actually be moved. That's why we sometimes, even when you hear that, oh, it has rained, you say it's moisture coming from the Indian Ocean. Another one, you say, no, it's because of the local condition. As meteorologists, we always tell you, say we are going to have a dry period, we're having to have less than normal rainfall because we are not getting enough from the Indian Ocean or other locations.
So what about the water surfaces? We've heard of lakes, rivers, swamps, and salt water and that type of thing. Who defines this? Is it the size or the type of water?
No, we define it depending on the size. For example, if you have water in a river is a small part which allows water to flow. That's the river. But a lake is bigger. But also we have, for example, smaller dams. So the size defines what we call. So sometimes we say surface water is in the surface, but some of it will be lake water, river water. So the size determines the type, but also where it is found. If it is underground covered by soil, then it becomes underground water. Once it is on the surface, then it becomes the surface water.
I've heard of Indian Ocean that it has special waters.
Yes, Indian Ocean, of course, has special water because that is the saline water. It's water which is basically salty because that's an ocean.
Salty water.
Salty water.
What makes it salty?
It's salty water is caused by a number of things. Some of it is as a result of the rock. The water will mix up with the rock. That's why you find even in some parts of Uganda. You go, for example, in eastern Uganda, in Usoga, around Lake Choga, you'll find the water is salty because the soil where the water is found has those particles which can easily dissolve like salt. So part of it is as a result of the type of rock. Part of it is as a result of the condition. When conditions are hot, then the water will evaporate, and as it evaporates, some materials remain there and make the water salty.
Has water, sir, any relationship with the impact of climate change? For example, right now the country has been undergoing high temperatures. Is this related at all with the water?
Yes, of course, climate, as I mentioned, climate is the change in weather patterns. So when there is a high temperature, then we have more water evaporating. But also we even need more water to cool ourselves, even to drink. So climate change has an impact on water. Hotter conditions as it is now are going to cause more evaporation of water, means you are losing water into the atmosphere. It is also going to require us to use more water, even maybe for cooking, for drinking. Then cooler temperatures will require that we don't lose much water, and we also don't consume more water. So again, climate and water are related. And that's why, for example, we cannot talk about weather without talking about water.
Yes, therefore that's point one, water. And another part you have is environment.
Environment is really part of water, and water is part of the environment. As I mentioned, two sides of the coin. Why do I say that? If you want to have water, you need to have the environmental resources available to get the water to keep saturating. And that's why I was talking about trees. That's why I was talking about wetlands. That the trees will release water into the atmosphere. That water is the one now that comes, and it goes as vapor. It's the water that is going to come down, which will form, condense and become rainfall to form water. So you need environment to be protected for you to have water. Wetlands store water. Wetlands filter water. Wetlands are stores of water, and wetlands are key in water availability in terms of content and quality. But wetlands cannot exist where there is no water. So you need water to have a wetland, but also you need a wetland in many areas to have your water available now and in the future. You need trees. Trees will not exist where there is no water, but you also need water to have trees there. So environment and water, and that's why our ministry is called Ministry of Water and Environment, because environment and water are related. So environment and water is, by the way, part of the environment, because if you have to define environment broadly, that's everything, living and non-living, which we find in a location. Even individuals are called environment. But in the strict sense of environment, as we look at it, we always look at forests, wetlands, river banks as environment, and then water occurring in there to catalyze them, but also those environment resources to catalyze water. And that's why we want to make sure that even when we are looking at how we manage water or how we are actually utilizing the water, we bear in mind the environment in which the water. If the environment is degraded, we shall not have water. If water is degraded, then the environment will not be there.
So many people, when you talk about the environment, they think of trees and grass.
It is bigger than that, of course. Again, those are the common things people see. They talk about trees, they talk about grass, they talk about wetlands. But the environment is bigger than that. Water, people, fish, animals, all of those are part of the environment. So the environment is big, and that's why when we are talking about environmental management, we are not talking about just looking after trees and wetlands. We are talking about looking after trees, wetlands, and all of those resources that affect them, that interact with them.
So water and the environment are very, very closely related.
They are inseparable, I must say. And that's why sometimes people say we need water. But if you don't protect where the water is coming from, because the water comes from the environment. So water availability, for you to have water, you have to make sure that the environment is protected. And later on, of course, I will highlight some of the challenges we are faced with just because of our poor management of water and environment resources.
Yes, let's also talk about, I've had water for production.
Yes, water for production. Basically, we traditionally use water for drinking. You drink, you bathe, you wash, and that water goes down the drain. Now, we are saying that water should actually be used for productive purposes. And productive purposes are many. You can use water for agriculture, where you get water and you irrigate during the dry season and you continue getting water. So that's production. You can use water for fish farming. Again, you get fish, it lives in water. You can get water for animal production. You can get water for vegetable growing. You can get water for tourism. You can get water for any use, navigation. You get water for hydro. So when we talk about water for production, we are talking about water being used for productive purposes. That's basically what we mean. Sometimes people look at water for production and water for agriculture, but it's bigger. Anything that you can use water on to promote production is actually called water for production. We are differentiating it from water for just drinking, which is not producing anything. Just you drink to quench your thirst and use at home for the various activities.
So, sir, of course, we are building up towards your day, but speaking about water for production seems to be a very big sector and a big government program.
Yes, indeed. Right now, for example, we are talking about wealth creation, we are talking about parish development model. There isn't an activity you can do without water. Every activity you do will need water, either as a primary input or as a secondary input. I just want to give an example, and simple things that sometimes we take for granted. You imagine the building industry, which depends on bricks, depends on sand. Let's assume that there was no water to mix sand and cement. Would the building industry be there? So let's look, for example, at bricks. Bricks are being made. If there was no... So again, when we talk about water for production, one can open it up in many ways. We are using water to produce. So water is producing bricks. Water is being used to produce this. Water is, for example, being used to produce beer. Water is being used to produce soda. Water is being used to produce many things. So, and it is becoming more important now because we are talking about production. We want to improve our production so that we can have enough food, enough resources for our own use, but also enough to produce to give us incomes. And that's why, for example, if you say water for production under tourism, then it helps you to actually focus on getting incomes, creating jobs around tourism. So again, it's a big issue, and maybe we need to continuously open it up to people so that people don't continue thinking that when we talk about water for production, we just talk about water for agricultural production. There is water for agricultural production, but there is water for production broadly.
Yes. I also heard of water for industrial sector.
Yes, indeed, industrial sector. Again, industries need water to clean. Industries.
Yeah, I thought with the water just need a pipeline, that's all.
No, because with the water, of course, you have to get the water. If it is for drinking, you clean it, you treat it, and then you pump it, and you deliver it where it is needed. So sometimes when people see water, they think it's God-given.
Isn't it true? It's God-given.
It's God-given, yes, but for it to be available to you, God doesn't bring it to you in the treated form. So you need to invest in getting it from where it is to where you need it, and you also need to make sure that you make the quality fit for purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me quote the President's Excellency President Museveni has been talking so much about value addition, and when you when you focus on water, what value addition do you have in the water sector?
Value addition, a simple example. Look at the mineral water bottling industry. You are getting water, you are adding value. Value addition is making a product that can attract attention. So what in the mineral water do? They just get water you have, put in a bottle, put a good label, and then you buy a bottle at 2,000. If somebody told you to buy this same water in a cup at 2,000, you would not buy. So you are adding value to the water. So value addition is actually nothing else but get your product, get more attraction so that you can get more value out of it. So that's the number one. So the value addition to water. But also getting water and using it to help you. Like for example, income. You can rather say irrigation. You can have the water. If it is there, then it is not helping you. But how do I get this water to give me more value? That's why you say, let me pump it and make it available. Bring it, and when you pump it, it can be used for drinking, it can be used for livestock. So you are actually adding value, you are making it possible for people to use. So value addition is not anything special, it's just saying, let me get my product, get more attractive, get more value than it would get under the natural state.
So we also have treatment plants in Uganda?
Yes. For example, all water, of course, which we supply has to be treated. For example, the water we get in Kampala is treated in Gaba. Some of it is treated in Katosi, in Mukono. You get water from Lake Victoria, you pump it, you put it in a plant so that you treat it, you put in chemicals to remove those organisms that can cause diseases, that can affect human health, and then you make sure that the water is fit for power. We always talk about water meeting water quality standards, drinking water quality standards, that what is there is not harmful to an individual. So we have treatment plants everywhere. We plant, even for mineral water, they also have treatment plants. You have to treat the water to make sure that it meets the quality standards.
And what about water for industrial production? What exactly is added to this?
So water, for example, industrial production, an industry is producing, but you are using water as a catalyst. Again, if you have an industry that is, say, making iron bars, they will need water. Sometimes they may be mixing chemicals, maybe they are coding. So you are getting water that is helping you to actually finish your product. Some of it could be water for cleaning, water for mixing, maybe, for example, making paint. You need water to mix with those chemicals to produce paint. So it is helping you to get the product. And if water was not available, you would not be having the paint. For example, paint, you have chemicals that are still in solid form. You are mixing them with water. So water is helping you to get the final product. So it is facilitating. It's not a primary input, but it's facilitative for you to get what you need.
So, sir, also, let's go, for example, in front of you there, I see a lot of water companies, Rwenzori Mineral Water and so many others. Those ones, what do they add at all? It's a matter of bottling and go on the market?
No, of course, it's not just getting and going to the market. This water is normally got underground. So they drill a borehole, pump, and of course that's the cost. Pump the water using a pump and sometimes using electricity or a generator, bring the water on the surface, and then they have processes which the water goes through to make sure that they remove those particles. Some of it is called ozonation. You put ozone, you kill those small particles, so bacteria if it is there. So it is water that is really has been treated, and that's why it has UNBS logo. It has gone through. So it doesn't mean that they have not done anything, but it's water.
Yes, because I've been wondering, what have they added at all?
No, they don't add in anything. They only make sure that they get the water so that it meets the safety standards. So if you want, of course, you can get water from a borehole and drink it. But when it is bottled, it has gone through those processes that what is contained there has been confirmed to be safe. And so you are paying for that value. You are paying for that confirmation. And that's why UNBS decides to put the label to confirm to whoever is taking the water that this water is confirmed to be safe.
So I'm seeing a lot of companies coming up in Kampala and the country at large. Are you concerned about this? Is it progress? Is it positive? I don't know.
For mineral water companies, yes, many, of course, we encourage that because they are creating jobs, they are using, because if we have water underground and we are not using it, then we can't celebrate. We need that water again to help us create jobs, improve the country. So companies coming up, we are happy, but we regulate them, we issue them licenses. Everybody who is using water in Uganda, and you are pumping water using a pump, to ensure that you apply for what is called a permit, a groundwater abstraction permit. Again, why do we do this? We want to control what people are doing so that we don't actually cause damage to the environment. You can imagine somebody pumping and then you pump and all the other wells are drying up. Then you cause. So we don't do it because we want to charge people. We do it because we want to ensure that we control and manage what is being done. So companies are coming up, let them come up, but if they have to establish, they have to apply for us to ask for permission. If they are going to drill their wells within Kampala, we have to license them. They have to come to us for permission to drill the wells. If they have drilled the wells, before they pump the water, they have to come to us to get permission to use the water. So again, it's okay, but they have to meet the condition. They have to comply with the water law and the environment law.
Yes, sir. Since our audience includes also the ordinary people, talk about the water taps.
Yes, water taps, of course, this is water that you pump and then you deliver so that people can get from a tap. Now, a tap is a delivery point. You can actually have water even in your house, put in a tank. So the taps are put there so that people can access the water. And again, we know that not everybody can afford to have water in the house. So we are putting there for use by the communities so that they can access water. But that's water that has already been treated, that has gone through the
some
processes.
People have been complaining of why do you charge this tap water?
For water to reach you, there is a cost attached to that. So we are not charging you for water, we are charging for the value added, for the cost put into getting that. You can imagine one should ask, how did that water reach there? You put in the pipes. Where are you getting it from? Again, some places you may find you have to treat the water. So who meets the cost? So you are actually paying for the cost of bringing that water to you. And if you don't pay, then somebody will say, who is paying it? Unless the government has decided to subsidize. But if the government is subsidizing those who already have the water, what about those who don't have? When will they ever get the water? Would be the question.
Because I thought water is a right and therefore a necessity for everybody.
Yes, indeed, water is a human right. If the Constitution is very clear, everybody should have access to safe drinking water. Yes, and that's what we are doing as government. But what we are saying is people are having a right to use the water, but that water actually costs money. So the issue is, and for it to continue flowing, if, for example, the pipe breaks down, what happens? If there is need for chemicals treat, where do you get the water from? So basically, we are not denying you a human right. you are having your human right. No question about that. But we are saying we are helping you to get that human right, but we want you to contribute. And people are not contributing the full amount. They are actually not contributing the full amount. They are contributing part of the cost. Otherwise, if they contribute the full amount, then we will say charge for the pipes, charge for the pumps, charge them for all of this. No, people are paying for what you call operation and maintenance costs.
So is water a private, a partnership, or purely government property?
Water is owned by Ugandans, is owned by Uganda. Government looks after water on behalf of Ugandans. So if you have water on your land, the land is yours, but the water belongs to government. So you don't actually own water. Nobody owns water. Water is owned by Uganda. Ugandans own water, and the government takes care of that water on behalf of Ugandans. So again, if you have land and you have bought land, and there is, for example, a borehole, there is a lake, you can't say, you can't touch. No, we only regulate you on how you use it. But if, for example, we want to use that maybe to supply a community, you can't say you pay me. We can only pay you for the land where we are maybe passing or going to put a pump, but we can't pay you for the water.
Yes, if the water source is in my land, am I not, can't I fence it off?
No, you can't fence it off to protect it, but you can't deny other people the use of that water.
That is very challenging.
No, it is not challenging. The law is clear. You imagine, assuming in a village that's the only source of water and somebody fences it off.
Yes, but it's my land.
No. That's why the law is clear. That's why the constitution is clear that land is owned by individuals. What is on the land, whether it is a wetland or water body, belongs to government. And that's why right now, for example, we have been saying that the great wetland, even if it is on your land, the wetland is not yours. The wetland is a public property. So we help you. We don't take away the land from you. We only help you to utilize that land in an environmentally sustainable manner.
Yes, sir. Since you are a senior officer, therefore you sit on several meetings and meetings and workshops and all this. Why is this wetland a controversial subject?
Now, wetland is a controversial subject for many, of course, reasons. You know, land in Uganda has become problematic. It's no longer available. So wetlands, of course, are areas covered by water. They are the areas which are full of water. You find that you just dig, for just a few centimeters, you reach water. So wetlands previously were no-go areas because nobody wanted to leave the water. Right now, as the land gets exhausted and as population grows, now people are going to those areas where they used not to stay. So our challenge right now is our population growth. But the other also challenge is that migration. People are moving to urban areas to look for jobs. And when they look to urban areas, then they are looking for where to stay. And that's why you find many of them in Uganda and all of those areas. But in the rural areas, the production on upland areas has gone down. Why? Because there is a lot of soil erosion. The land is bare. So all of the soil now has gone into the valleys and the wetlands. So people are following the fertile soil because on the hill areas, on the raised ground, it is no longer productive. But even when it is productive, it is affected by drought because of the soil moisture cannot be retained because the water runs off on the surface. So wetlands are contentious for a number of reasons. Our high population growth rate, they need to get increased food. Once the population grows, then you have many mouths to feed. You need to produce more. And when productivity has gone down, then people are going to look for where it is the fertile soil is. And of course, again, then people are building, people are doing all sorts of things, again, because they are trying to survive. And of course, many people claim that they are poor, they are looking for survival.
Okay. Yes, water is very sensitive, particularly in certain parts of the country. For example, Karamoja and Western Uganda, particularly the cattle corridors. Can you also discuss this issue of water and the services, certain areas of the country? And it was in Karamoja and Western Uganda, the cattle areas.
Yes, water is not found everywhere. There are some areas which have too much water. There are areas who have which have too little water, and that's the dilemma we always have. In Uganda, we have those areas. Areas when it rains, they start crying. People always say that water is life unless you live in Bwaise. Again, for Bwaise, when it rains, then people start saying, now my house is going to be flooded. But when you go in Karamoja, when it rains, people are celebrating because water is bringing life. So again, those areas, we call them cattle corridor because there is limited rainfall. Again, as we said, water comes from rainfall. So because we have limited rainfall, then you are not having enough water coming in. And when the season is in some of those areas, you find that the season is wrong, dry season is wrong, and then hot, then you find that even when the water is there, it evaporates. So those cattle corridors are areas which receive low rainfall and where the water is generally lower than other areas.
Okay, we may discuss this one further later, but I still want to exhaust the issue of Western Uganda animals and water shortage and at Karamoja. What plans do you are in place? Are you having anything specifically, or what are the challenges?
Yes, of course, those...
people lose hundreds of cows. And
yes, indeed, yes, people lose hundreds of cows. So a number of things we are doing as government. Of course, water doesn't mean that water is not available. It's only that water is not stored. So in those areas, government is constructing dams, large dams. A dam, a huge one, which is like a wreck, but man-made. So we have machines which will go in an area and excavate and create a hole underground, and then you have a large dam that is there. We are also constructing smaller dams, and in this regard, government now is actually we have procured a number of machines to construct valley tanks, smaller dams. People can construct on their farm. Then we give the people the machine, people hire the machine, they only pay fuel and labor. So government is actually giving them machine, but people are paying for fuel and the allowances for labor. So many people in southwestern Uganda have actually constructed their own individual valley tanks on the land, and the situation is much better. We have been having a challenge that some of them are quite small, so by the time the dry season ends, it has dried up. So now we have increased the size to 20,000 cubic meters. Previously we had 10,000 and they would dry up. Now they are taking much longer, but also have brought in another component of protecting the area around them so that we reduce siltation. Many of them, you find when it rains, it brings a lot of rubbish. Then it goes in and then it fills up. When it rains, there's small amount of water. But we have what you call catchment management. So for every dam, for every tank, we are saying manage the area where the water is coming from, reduce siltation, and through that, then the water will be available all year round. But we are also promoting construction of boreholes in some areas. You can drill a borehole and deliver water, and you water your animals. We are actually exploring more of that so that we have a combination of that.
So the Banyankole shouldn't be worried?
They shouldn't be worried. We have a lot of rainfall, only that we are not storing it. When it comes to runs away, we did an assessment in southwestern Uganda, River Ruiz. River Ruiz is the river that supplies Mbarara, and the water comes from Uhejo, from Ntungamo, from Bushenyi. In the rainy season, it has a lot of water. In the dry season, the river is almost dry. In the rainy season, it even has a lot of silt. So people have been complaining, saying, River Ruiz is drying up. We did a study, and we actually found that River Ruiz has a lot of water, only that it comes at the wrong time. In the rainy season, it comes, and then it washes away and goes to Lake Victoria and continues to Egypt. In the dry season, it is not there. And what is the reason for that? Most of the wetlands in that area have been degraded, have been turned into farms. So when the water comes, it goes very fast, goes. Previously, because the wetlands were there, then the water will be stored there. So you would be having natural dams. Then the wetlands would be releasing water gradually, and then you find that the river is growing. So we have now, when we realize that, then we embarked on a massive program of restoring wetlands. We have restored quite a number of wetlands, River Ruiz, and we see the quality improving and the amount of water improving, but we still have a lot to do. For example, some hills in Buheju, you find that they are bare, the water comes very fast, so we are also supporting those areas too. Stop the speed at which the water is moving. Harvest the water on hills so that it can go underground.
So the people of Ankole region have a better future?
Yes, very much.
I'm saying this because they really survive on water.
If
and animals.
A better future if we change the way we are doing things. Because, we are taking many of these things for granted. We just want water, but we don't want to look after water. That's why earlier I was saying that you want water, look at the environment. If you don't look at the environment, the water will not be there. The people in Ankole have to change the way they are doing things. As I mentioned, if you are having all wetlands being turned into farms, they want to keep animals, but they don't know that the animals need water. Then the animals will die, and then everything is water. That's why we're saying is you can have your farm, but you can also have the water. So don't look at your farm and don't look after the water. And again, we have had programs to educate them, to guide them. The future is bright because we know what it takes. We have also engaged people who have created committees. For example, in River Louise, we have a River Louise Catchment Management Committee, where the leaders, the chairperson, now the LC5 chairperson from Barara, we have 11 districts. They are coming together, technical people, politicians, other people, including also the media, to say, what do we do? So we know what needs to be done. There's no question about that. What is the problem is we are not doing what we should be doing.
Okay.
And then later we come and lament and cry.
Yeah, still Western River Louise and River Mpanga. I'm sure you've had a debate on River Mpanga in Fort Portal.
Indeed, River Mpanga, we're also doing quite a lot of work there. We work all over the country and we traverse. So all those places we know we are working there. We have regional offices. The Ministry of Water and Environment has regional offices. We have 6 regional offices. We have an office in Karamoja, we have an office in Fort Portal, an office in Mbarara, an office in Wakiso, in Mbale, and Lira. Now, why did we create those offices? We wanted to come closer to where the people are, where the problems are. So through our offices, through our supervision, through our activities, we work there. So River Mpanga, yes, is the same. River Mpanga passes through Fort Portal, flows, and then ends up into Lake George. Now you find that there are many developments around. Before you reach Lake George, there is a hydropower dam. But in Fort Portal, we have also water supply for Kamwenge, but also have even set up an irrigation scheme around there. So that river is also under pressure. But even when you reach Fort Portal city, there is a lot of pollution, there is a lot of degradation. So we worked with, a few years ago, we worked with the stakeholders to develop the River Mpanga catchment management. Yes, the kingdom. We actually about to sign, we actually already signed a memorandum of understanding with the kingdom to really work together to protect these resources. We are also working. The chairperson of Kabarole is actually the chairperson of Mpanga Catchment Management Committee. And that committee, those committees have been created now in 19 areas which we call catchments, areas that contribute water to a common point. And they are headed by the stakeholders. And we always want the politicians to be there because we feel politicians have a responsibility to lead the people, but sometimes they can be controversial. So we want them to lead by example. So River Mpanga, we prepared River Mpanga Catchment Management Plan, where we identified the challenges, we identified the causes, we identified the solution, and we are implementing them. And we are doing quite a lot of work there, and the situation is getting better, but we need more resources to be able, but also we need a participation of more people to ensure that we create serious impact.
So both River Mpanga and River Louise, what are the major challenges? Encroachment or what? I don't know.
Yes. The biggest problem in the whole country is not only this. You go to River Manafa, you go to River Inyao, you go to the River Chiruma, everywhere you go, our challenge is encroachment. Encroachment that people are digging just close to the river. And when they are digging close to the river, then you find that the river is full of soil. And the soil really goes in the river and sits up the river. But also even where the water is coming from, all is degraded. People are using fertilizers, people are using pesticides, and all of this is ending in the water. So degradation in all forms, water quality degradation, wetland degradation, forest degradation, riverbank degradation, of all forms, pollution, poor agricultural practices, all of those. And that's why we are saying that the country is not going to progress if we don't change our practices, if we don't change our mindset. We can talk about moving into middle income status, but we cannot if we don't look at the resource that is actually key in achieving our aspirations.
Sir, these encroachers, what plans does government have? Because the population is an increase and yet the facilities are not expanding.
Yes, encroachers, yes. There are reasons, of course, why people encroach. Number one is sometimes there's impunity. Just people do it arrogantly and say, what will you do to me? There are those who really want to just ignore and they think about themselves. But there are those who are saying, we are trying to survive.
Someone says, I was born here.
Yeah, I was born here. I'm trying to survive. I need food. I need to feed the family. Yes, so we handle those cases genuinely the way they come, but the law is very clear on what needs to be done to protect. But for those cases where, for example, many of the people who say we are going to wetlands because we want to survive, then we have all our programs now. We have a component of livelihood improvement, that we are getting people and we are saying, let's give them an alternative so that they don't go to the wetland. So again, that's why I was saying that some of them, for example, were saying, can you set up fish pond around the wetland? Instead of destroying the wetland, put a fish pond on the side of the wetland so that the wetland keeps feeding the fish pond with water. In a way, you are looking at the wetland as benefiting your activity. We have heard, for example, in southwestern Uganda, when we restored the wetland, there was a lot of business with people cutting mulching material. People will just get the wetland, it is well protected, and there are people who are cutting mulching material. There are those who are transporting it and mulching in people's, and it became a business. So some people, so again we are saying, for you to destroy a wetland, we can actually guide you to get another activity that is what is better and environmentally friendly. That's basically what we are saying. That so many things. For example, right now we are saying, can we use the wetland and get water from there and then help you to irrigate all year round? Instead of you producing in the rainy season, you'll be producing the dry season. We are getting women. Can we create a group of women who actually are using the wetland to get material that they can use to make mats and baskets and they sell? So many things can be done around there. So one thing we are focusing on now to address that challenge is let's help the people. A poor person cannot conserve. He needs to survive. So we don't want to assume that government will come and remove people. And His Excellency, the President, has been clear, say, don't just chase people away. First of all, give them alternatives. You don't want them to die. Some people are there to their survival. But then, of course, there are those who are there arrogantly. Those ones are removed. But there are those who are there because really they are trying to survive. Again, as pressure on the land increases, then you expect, and the population increases, then you expect people to start going into those areas that used not to be inhabited.
Thank you very much, sir. So that is Western Uganda and particularly Greater Mbarara and Kabarole. Yes, let's also move to Karamoja and exhaust the debate about Karamoja, Sebei areas. They seem to have very unique challenges when you hear the situation on the ground over there. The temperatures are said to be very high. And just as you mentioned, whenever it rains, it's a big day. They all celebrate. What plans maybe does government have, or what do you think should be done to put Karamoja and Sebei areas and parts of Lira apparently onto equal footing?
Well, for Karamoja, I will talk about Karamoja and then I can talk about Sebei separately. Karamoja's problem can only be solved if you have adequate water for their animals, and you also, of course, help them also to diversify and do other activities. And indeed, that's what the government is trying to do. Of course, we need more resources to do more. We have been able to create some dams which act as security barriers. In Karamoja, for example, they normally would get people coming, the pastoralists coming from Kenya, coming to Uganda looking for water. And they will come and attack the Karamojong. But they also, Karamojong have been traveling to Lango and sometimes Achora and Teso. again looking for water. So Karamoja's problem is provision of water. And we have the solutions. What is only needed are the resources, which again are limited because really of the challenges we have as a country. But Karamoja's problem, water is a strategic issue that will address Karamoja's problem. And again, where the leadership of this country is far away of this, and that's why we have a number of programs going there that you cannot address insecurity in Karamoja without looking at water. You can use water as a source of, as a means of addressing insecurity and also promoting peace and security in the area.
Okay,
then maybe yes. Sebei. For Sebei, you know it is a hill area. And Sebei has a lot of water. So Sebei is a hill area. We have actually a lot of water in the hills, but you find that some people are staying up in the hills and then the water cannot reach them. So that's the challenge, that how do you get water to find people on top of the hill? Sebei, for example, even in Kigezi, you find that you have water, but it is below people. Then people on top of the hill. To get the water to reach where they are becomes a problem. Then in some of those situations we say, what do we do? Some of them will say, let's get them to harvest water on the roof and all of that. Some of them will set up even rocks. We see whether harvest water from rocks. So sometimes some of those are challenging. Like for example, like in Ngezi region, if you have to get water, say from Lake Bunyonyi, and you take it to the hill, the cost of pumping that water would be so high that if you wanted the people to pay for the water, they would probably not manage. So those are some of the challenges, but again, we try to find what we call feasible solution for those areas.
Yes, so it seems you have problems both in highlands and lowlands.
Well, again, different problems, but of course, a different solution. Lowlands, too much water. Highlands, again, water will run away to the overlying areas. But we know what to do. On highlands, we can store the water and keep it there so that people use it there. Then once we keep it there, but you regulate the speed at which it is moving, then you are protecting low-lying areas. So when we are doing our work, we look at the rural areas, the midland and the highlands, and we address them holistically. What you do in the highland is different from what you do in the middle, what you do in the lowland. And our actions are clear. We know it's really looking, we normally call it a landscape approach, that you look at the land and you look at the different locations and you see how you are going to address the challenges.
Okay. So still in eastern Uganda, and a challenge again, and of course, as I told you, this program is also live in eastern Uganda, particularly through Butembo Radio. They are listening. Elgon region seem to be having a huge challenge of floods.
Elgon region,
yes. The floods are also under your section?
Yes, yeah. Floods are under our section. Yes, floods. Yeah. We need to, of course, how do floods occur? Floods, it rains. You know, when it rains and there is nothing that stops the water from moving, then obviously you have a problem. It will move at a very high speed, and then when it finds you on the way, whether you are an individual or a house, then you have what? You have a problem. It will cause flooding. So flooding is occurring again because we are having too much rainfall falling within a very short period, again because of the change.
Because it's, as a water expert, and I said they are listening to you now, in Mbale, in Soronko, in Manafa, and I think in Western Uganda, in Kasese, these floods, what advice do you have for them?
Now, again...
Because people always wait for answers from government.
Yes, and we probably maybe use this opportunity to tell the listeners what actually we are doing as government. Let me just give an example of Kasese. Kasese is always in the news because we are having steep hills. Rivers are coming from Mount Rwenzori. We have many rivers there, and they are all flowing. Now, Mount Rwenzori, we have we have been having the glacier, the snow there on the mountain. Now, up there, you find that we have more things like wetland. We call them bogs, big chunks of rock. But if you step there, you can sink the way you would sink in a marsh or wetland. So when it rains, the rains come with very huge chunks of rock big chunks, and they are the ones which are coming, and they are the ones which are causing havoc. If you go, for example, to Kasese River, Nyamwamba, and you look at what is in the river, you can't believe. Some people who sometimes hear about it, when they go there, they can't believe. You find that the huge chunks of rock are coming, they are blocking the speed at which the water is flowing, then the water starts looking for where to go. That's where then this water comes and floods the schools, floods the hospitals, floods the destroyed roads. So, again, once water is looking for a path and the path is not available, it will find its way. That's exactly what is happening. That you find that because we are getting all those huge rocks coming from the hills, they are blocking the path of water. But people are now also digging close to the river. So you find that actually the river is no longer a river, it has turned into a garden. So what are we doing? We actually started a program last year, a serious program at the directive of the Prime Minister to try and address the flooding challenge in Kasese. So we are doing a number of things. We are now cleaning the river so that we remove those chunks of rock that don't allow the water to flow. So right now we have machines that are there. They are doing quite a lot of work there. And once we clean the river, then the water will continue flowing. It means the water will now not start looking for where to pass. It will pass through where it used to pass. That's the number one. We are also we are now protecting the banks of the river. We are constructing what we call gabions so that we protect the water. Then we have demarcated the river bank, the area which needs to be protected, and we have removed the people from those areas. We have demarcated the area and we have planted the bamboo to mark the area so that people know. We have even put their pillars. And we have done it through engagement of the people. We have not forced people, but what we have done, we have given them alternatives. Right now, for example, we are having the youth who are using those big chunks of rock and they are making materials. They make cups. Some of them are making even hand wash basins. Very interesting things that you would not imagine. The women are being helped now. Some of the women are involved in mushroom growing. Some of them have been given. Have been given beehives. Others have been supported with small scale irrigation schemes. So we are helping them with many things as a compensation for them to leave the river bank. But we are also protecting where the water is coming from. We are getting the people. They are constructing small dams which get the speed of water to reduce. We call them check dams, and those ones are reducing, and they're also even helping to improve the soil moisture in the ground.
Yes, but what about Elgon region where there is a lot of floods constantly? I'm sure you have discussed this at your levels, and what's the way forward? Because the people of Mbali, Sironko are really in trouble. Since you are celebrating Water Week, let's hear your comment.
Yes, again, if you go to Mbale and you see the rivers coming from the hills, they are all full of soil. Why? People are digging to the river. Those hills, yes, landslides. And the hills are steep, so people are digging on very high steep, and you find that it is a garden which is bare. No trees, no terrace, no what. So when the water comes, again, the situation is getting worse because of the changing climate. So when the situation gets that level, the soil will come, will remove at a very high speed, and then it will kill people. So again, the issue is protect the environment, protect the landscape, manage the water so that the water doesn't become a problem. Those areas will continue flooding if we don't change our practices. So that's why right now the programs we have programs in the Elgon region. We have programs all over the country. Again, we need to scale them up. We are getting the people to know that a lot of these can actually be solved by them, and it doesn't require high-level technical expertise. Many of them, we are giving them tools. Give them a hoe, an axe or a spade, and they construct those small water harvesting structures. And they are helping to improve soil moisture. They are also helping to actually reduce flooding in that area.
So there are plans for those people in those
plans.
areas.
We already have plans for all of those areas. We have developed what we call catchment management plans. These are plans for integrated development and management of water and related resources. We simplify them to call them catchment management plans, but if one was to describe it, those are plans which we have put in place to say, how do we manage and develop water and other related resources for the benefit of the people now and in the future.
You are still tuned to Ground Zero on UBC radio stations across the country. Let's have a break, and when we return, our guest talks to us about the question of rice growing in wetlands. What are the challenges and what's the position of government regarding rice growing?
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate and guide for national transformation.
Our own radio, UBC, should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda kitwa kugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide. And people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The Uganda Water and Environment Week is back. Join us as we deliver value internally and externally by promoting a multinational integrated approach that links all sectors of water and environment, and also explore and deliberate on the water and environment resources to climate resilience. The week commemorates 3 sector days of World Water Day, World Forestry Day, and World Meteorological Day. The Uganda Water and Environment Week will take place from 12th to 17th March 2023 at the Ministry of Water and Environment headquarters in Luzira under the theme Water and Environment for Climate Resilient Development.
Uganda Water and Environment Week is organized by Ministry of Water and Environment through the Water Resources Institute with support from development partners.
From the horse's mouth,
The Executive Director of Higher Education Students Financing Board, Michael Wanyama, speaks about the Students' Loan Scheme and Scholarship Scheme.
So Higher Education Students Financing Board is a body corporate established by an Act of Parliament in 2014, mainly to fund students who are joining higher learning institutions for both diplomas and degrees and postgraduates. So we do fund students with the loans. We also have a mandate to give them scholarship. At the establishment, we are given 2 mandates, loans and scholarship. So we deal with the financing of higher education. And largely our main goal is to increase equitable access to higher education with various objectives. We support critical programs that will spur economic development in this country. We support students that don't have the money to fund themselves. And we also ensure regional balance in terms of when we are giving out these loans. We want at least learners from all parts of the Uganda, all parts of the district to have access to higher education. And being a loan, the other big or major objective is also to ensure that this is a revolving fund, implying that when we give you a loan at the end of the day, at the end of the period as we shall discuss it, you must be able to repay so that another learner in a similar situation like yours is able to access this loan.
That was the Executive Director of Higher Education Students Financing Board speaking about the Students' Loan Scheme and Scholarship Scheme.
it's authentic, credible, and direct from the actual source. From the horse's mouths, playing here on UBC Radio.
98 FM, UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that break. You are still listening to UBC Radio, and this is Ground Zero program. So this time round, we want also to hear about the question of rice growing and the challenges of rice growing specifically in wetland areas, and this is in eastern Uganda. Yes, another area disturbed by this is the rice growing communities and fishing communities.
Yes. Rice growing, of course, is a big issue in eastern Uganda. People have destroyed wetlands and they're growing rice. And then the wetlands, as we said, are stores of water. Many areas they are getting even rice and using pesticides and fertilizers. You pollute the water. It's a challenge. People are depending on that. In some of those areas, again, we have been getting them out of the wetlands and giving them more alternatives. We have quite a number of wetlands which people have left, and then now they are really getting more money than they were even getting previously. So again, rice growing can be done, but in an environmentally sustainable way.
I wanted to find, sir, can't you use modern science to ensure that this rice growing is not disturbed and does not disturb the water catchment?
Yes, that's why right now the programs we have is to improve our agricultural practices. Some of the agricultural practices are still rudimentary, traditional. So again, we are improving. That's why, for example, we are saying that, do you have always to grow rice in a wetland? You can actually grow rice on a higher ground and bring water from a wetland and you bring it there. There is also even upland rice. So again, we are saying that you can have a balance. You don't have to destroy all the wetlands because you have to grow rice. There are areas where you can actually what? To grow rice and you get whatever you want. So again, that's where changing people's mindset, but also giving them other innovation. And that's what basically we try to discuss with the stakeholders. What are the innovative options? Could be technology that there is in some countries that we don't know. Maybe some countries that have solved this problem. That's why for us we invest in learning and experience sharing as we build on this. But also we want people to learn from the mistakes. If you have had a mistake, a problem, learn from it and you move forward.
Another group of people disturbed by these water-related issues are the fishermen.
Yes, the fishermen, of course, the fishermen live, the fish will always live in water. So the fishermen are actually disturbed. If the water goes up, the fish breeding grounds are covered. They don't fish. Fish will not grow. But if even the water goes down, the fish breeding grounds will remain hanging, the fish will not produce. So fishermen, of course, are affected by the changes in water, and that's why, again, we are saying that for the fishermen, they don't only look at the fish and the lake, but they look at the areas which actually affect the lake, and they also contribute in that.
Sir, I'm sorry to keep you long on this subject because it is for the ordinary people to understand and live a better life. I want to look at that rice growing and also these fisher people as we celebrate your Water Day. And again, we have Paris Development Model coming up. We have World Exploration coming. All these projects are focusing on ordinary people. So how do the fishermen and the other rice people survive? Or what plans do you think should be put in place?
Yes, now again, for example, for the rice growing, people sometimes, it's like if you look at a cattle keeper. A cattle keeper thinks that the world ends with animals. If you tell a cattle keeper, but you can actually keep half the animal. And I think as the president has been telling people that don't keep so many animals. You can have 10 and then you actually diversify. So what we are trying to get is to get the rice growing communities to know that the world doesn't end in rice on growing only. You can do rice, but you do other things that balance each other, you don't cause environmental challenges. Now, if they continue doing rice growing the way they are doing, then even the rice will not grow because there will not even be any water to do. So what we are getting them to do is that you can actually survive and even survive better. And that's why I'm telling you that all our programs now, we are having components which get them to educate them to look at how you can actually survive as an alternative, so that if there is no fish, you don't die. If there is no animal, you don't die. You survive because there are other options. And again, for survival, you should, depending on one thing is also dangerous. You cannot, if it fails, then you have a problem. That's why sometimes they say depending even on one job is dangerous, because if you don't it doesn't bring income, then you do. So again, we are trying to get them to appreciate the importance of diversification as a way again of relieving pressure. Because you can put a lot of pressure on one thing, but you can do this, and make sure that you reduce on the pressure on these resources.
You are still tuned to UBC Radio. This is Ground Zero program that comes away every Saturday, and I am Henry Baguma. I am hosting Dr. Kalisti Tindimugaya, who is the Commissioner in Water and Environment. And we are going through this subject because shortly we want to also further to discuss about the upcoming water celebrations which are already underway, and we're about to move to that sector. But before we move there, I want you, sir, to talk about water, climate change, and weather, the three combination.
Okay, so again, let me start by talking about weather and climate change. Now, weather, these are the changes that happen in our environment. So the changes, but when these changes they go on for a long time, then we talk about climate change. So the climate, weather and the climate, sometimes we talk about weather and the climate. So weather is the conditions of the atmosphere, either temperature, either the wind or rainfall. But when, for example, the temperature has changed for a long time and we see it changing, then that's where we talk about change in temperature. We talk about climate. The climate is changing. So again, weather is short term, climate change is long term. Now, short term will affect water in a short term. Climate change will affect water in a long term. So if, for example, like today it rained, if it rained, then the water will run into a river, and it might actually affect the water in the river, and the water might go up. But when it stops raining, it goes down. But for climate change, if it is affecting water, then you find that the effect is taking a long time, and that's why we are saying that we are suffering from challenges of climate change because they take a long time and take a long time even to address. So weather, climate related, and water. So weather affects water for a short period. The climate change affects water for a longer period.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Looking at Uganda in general, what are the major water sources in Uganda today, and in what status are they? Because many people talk of River Nile and Lake Victoria generally, but and the weather, as you have, rain, as you have talked about. But let me get from your expertise knowledge, water sources in Uganda, and in what status are they?
Okay, now the status generally, again, as we say, water sources, major water sources, we have Lake Victoria, we have Lake Choga, we have Lake Albert. Those are the major ones, and of course the Nile that connects them. The state, again, I can talk about the state in terms of water quality. Lake Victoria is highly polluted. Why? Because of what is happening around the lake. A lot of waste disposal and treated waste, industrial waste going in, plastics, pit latrines, and all that. So if you go to Lake Victoria, I was there 2 days ago, you really you find green color there, algae there. It is in a solid state, so it is polluted. Then, of course, once it is polluted, then you have effect on the fisheries. The fish will start dying, but also even the water you are drinking, you are getting from there, will also take a lot of money to treat. Then you have a problem. So the status is not good generally in open water bodies. When you look at water underground, general water underground is good in most places. The quality, you can actually get water underground and drink it without even boiling. But of course, you have to bear in mind about the container you are using. You can use a container that is contaminated. So our status is not good because of the changes. And also in terms of the amount, we find the amount of water is going down now. As again, as I mentioned, environment degradation has impact on water availability. If we address environmental degradation, then we also address issue of water.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Now, the second to our 3 points we are discussing is now about the Ministry of Water and Environment. Talk to me about this ministry, the organizational structure, the departments, the sections. Give me a bigger picture and who heads what.
Yes, yeah. So the Ministry of Water and Environment is the government agency or ministry responsible for all issues of water and environment in the country. So the ministry is responsible for ensuring that people have safe drinking water in rural and urban areas. We have water for productive purposes. We manage this water so that it's available now and in the future for the various uses. We manage the environment, but also we're in charge of climate change. So the ministry is huge. And of course, the ministry has also agencies. We have National Water and Sewerage Corporation, which is responsible for providing water and sanitation services in large towns. Right now, about 260 towns are under national water. While the other ones, which are remaining towns and rural areas, are now under the control of the mainstream. So when the Ministry of Water and Environment provides water, say, to a town, then after some time it hands it over to National Water and Sewerage Corporation, start running in a commercial manner. So National Water and Sewerage Corporation is part of the Ministry of Water and Environment, only that it is a corporation that is run more or less on a commercial basis, while the mainstream ministry is actually not run on a commercial basis, provide services. We have the National Forest Authority that is responsible for managing the central forest reserves. We have the National Environment Management Authority that is responsible for all environment issues. Then we have the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, which looks at issues of weather and climate. Within the ministry, and the ministry, of course, is headed by the minister. We have two ministers of state. So the senior minister, Minister of Water and Environment. Then you have two ministers of state. One Minister of State for Water, another Minister of State for Environment. Then, of course, below the ministers, we have Permanent Secretary. Then we have three directorates. We have a Directorate of Environment Affairs, which looks after environment. We have a Directorate of Water Resources Management, which looks at all the water resources and wants to make sure that they are available for different uses. Then you have a Directorate of Water Development, which looks at how we develop water for drinking and for productive purposes. And then under there are departments that do many things. So we have in general about 15 departments in the ministry.
Where do you fall yourself, and what is your mission and objective?
So I head one of the departments, the Department for Water Resources Planning and Regulation. Now, what does my department do? I look after all the water resources of Uganda. So in a way, you can say that I'm the owner of all the water, whether underground, rivers and lakes in Uganda. So anybody who is going to use water for any purposes, whether it is for drinking, whether it is for irrigation, for hydropower, for industry, has to come to me to authorize them to use the water. Now, how do we do it? We plan. We first of all say, how much water do we have in this part, in this lake, in this river, underground? Then we say, how much water are we using? So we do what we call planning for the use of the water. So I plan for all the water uses. I plan for what's going to be used for drinking, for irrigation, for agriculture, for industry. And my aim is to ensure that all these different uses have their fair share of the resource. Then I also issue them licenses where I give them the rules of the game. I say, I'm allowing you to get this amount of water, but you have to do it ABC. Don't exceed this, don't do this, don't pollute, don't do this. And then I also get them to protect. So, and then as you protect, that's where then I get the people to be supported with the alternative income sources.
So how much water do you have in Uganda? Do you have enough water in your view?
Yes, we actually know how much water we have in Uganda. We have now 43 billion cubic meters of water annually. 29 billion cubic meters comes from outside our borders, comes from outside Uganda. Only 14 billion cubic meters of water actually is the one which is generated, which is produced within Uganda. So what does that mean? It means that if you cross the Uganda's borders, Uganda will only remain with the only 31%. 69% comes from outside Uganda, 31% is generated within Uganda. And that's why for us as a country, working with our neighbors is not an option but a must. Because the water, for example, we get into Lake Victoria comes from Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, and Tanzania. But this water that comes to Uganda flows through Nile, and then it is the water that goes South Sudan, Sudan, and Egypt. So Uganda's water resources are shared with other countries, 11 other countries. And these countries are part of the Nile. And that's why we always talk about agreements on the Nile. That's why we talk about sharing the water. And that's why, as Uganda, we are interested in what is happening in other countries, because it has a bearing on what happens in Uganda.
Yes, I've also heard of the Nile Basin.
Yes, the Nile Basin is the...
And also Lake Victoria, something like that?
Yes. So the Nile Basin is an area that contributes water to River Nile. It covers 11 countries. Then the Lake Victoria Basin is the area that contributes water to Lake Victoria. And the countries which contribute water are the East African countries. Now, we have an organization that looks after that basin, that brings all the countries that share River Nile. We call it Nile Basin Initiative, and it is based in Entebbe.
Is this not for purpose of creating jobs?
No, because if Uganda is a sovereign state, how do you get an ordinary Ugandan to talk with an ordinary Kenyan? There has to be a mechanism for them to work together. Uganda's boundaries are clear. So this organization helps create opportunities for people in different countries to talk with each other. And if it is not there, then you find that you are fighting. So it actually is doing a very good job and is very, very important.
So now let's get to the final part. This is the upcoming Uganda Water Week on a specific theme, but now let's start from there. The Water Week. Give us the information about this. What sort of program is it? How is it prepared? Why is it? How important is it? And what activities underway?
Yes, actually we call it Uganda Water and Environment Week. Again, because we said water and environment are related, and again the Ministry of Water and Environment deals with water and environment issues. So we started the Uganda Water and Environment Week in 2018. We realized that issues of water and environment are not known, are taken for granted. And people always assume that all of these resources will always be there. So we said, since water touches everybody, since environment actually is related to water and these resources are key in the sustainable development of the country, how do we get the people in the country to actually contribute to their management, contribute to their protection, contribute to their sustainable development? So we said, let's create a week where we bring all the stakeholders together to talk about this resource and see how they can manage this resource and help to address these challenges. So although we call it a week, but it's actually a number of weeks because we have activities that take place even before the actual week. So the week was conceived as an avenue for engaging the stakeholders, for raising awareness among stakeholders about the importance of water and the environment, about the challenges we are faced with, about the need to work together to address these challenges. So 2018, we had our first Uganda Water and Environment Week, and since that time we have held 5, and what we are going to hold now is the 6th. And when we hold the week, we arrange activities all over the country through our 6 regional offices. We call them pre-Water Week activities. So we have the communities engaged in cleaning, we have people engaged in tree planting, we have tree planting, we have people engaged in cleaning exercises, people engaged in demonstrating innovation, income generating activities. We have people debating, we have football matches, and most important, we have been having a walk, which is a walk for water, environment, and climate change. And we are doing it to raise awareness among the people on the importance of water and environment issues in the country.
Okay. So 5 years you've been organizing this. What's the matter of arranging and then go home?
No.
How much have you achieved?
Yes, we have really achieved quite a lot. We have achieved quite a lot. Issues of water and environment used not to be known. We have now raised awareness among different stakeholder groups right now, and I can demonstrate that through the number of partners we have. When we started in 2018, we basically had about 5, even less than 5 organizations working with us. Every year, the number of organizations that come on board to contribute increases. Right now, we have over 60 different organizations within the country and outside the country participating. We have, for example, the Uganda Kingdom, and they are helping us to using their structures, raise awareness, get people to understand through their totems, people to understand the importance of protecting this resource. But they are having a number of restoration programs going on. We are working with the church. We are working now with the Uganda Joint Christian Council, and the churches are involved very, very actively in our programs. We are having now the private sector, have many private sector organizations involved, many universities, academic institutions involved, civil society organizations involved. Right now, even for example, when you look at the media, the media now are covering water and environment issues more than ever before, because again the awareness has gone. So the week has raised a lot of awareness, that has given us a lot of benefits, and we feel that as we progress, it will help us in terms of moving forward. And of course, if you look, for example, at the media, the engagement with UBC radio and UBC TV has happened every year. Every year, we have partnership with UBC. UBC is part of our partners, and even when we're having activities in the regions, they are there. UBC radio and TV, they have come on board, they have raised awareness, and again, as part of this program, we wouldn't be having this program if we're not having the Uganda Water and Environment Week. And maybe even UBC radio wouldn't even be knowing about these issues if we didn't have week. Right now, I've been having a walk. Yesterday, we met members of parliament, and all of them told us that they have been seeing what is happening as part of the walk. So we feel...
Of course, for example, today, Ground Zero has been dedicated to water.
Yes.
The only word has been water.
Which is, again, for us, we are happy about that, and we do believe that we feel all of this is happening because of the engagements we have been having. I'm sure you always hear about them. Previously, you would probably not even call anybody to talk about water. You think there isn't anything to discuss. But with all of this, so the engagement, but most importantly, we are trying to get people to appreciate that it's not just government alone, that we need all of us to come in and take action. And wherever we go, whatever we do, we are telling people that government alone cannot solve this problem. The problems are caused by us individuals. Government will help, but we need the support of the private sector, the civil society, all of the various institutions, and we are seeing positive feedback. Just maybe highlight to you even why we feel that this week has become very, very fruitful. The budget of the Uganda Water and Environment Week is about 1 billion Uganda shillings, but about 700 million is funded by other stakeholders. That's again an indication that they have interest in what we are doing. If government was to fund that alone, we would struggle. Maybe we would divert money, which we would use to drill boreholes to put into this. But the fact that we are getting other partners, some contributing cash and in kind, to contribute to this, for us, it's an indication of the interest. And then every year, many organizations, even again outside Uganda, are contacting us and saying, can we be part of you? Can you involve us? Can we contribute? Many private sector organizations, even many media houses are contacting us and say, can we also join and all of that? And we feel that we are creating... Of
course, a media can only come to you if it knows that it will have audience and listeners, because for us, we survive on listeners.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
If you didn't have content, we wouldn't bother.
Yes, that's the issue, and we are happy that...
So you still have content?
Yes, we do, because that's why I think people listen to us. That's why they call us, because we have value. But also, most important, we are trying to break down issues of water and environment into the language people understand. Previously, people would not understand water and environment. What are they related?
What you call the local content?
Yes.
There's local content. there is community engagement, there's also Buy Uganda, Build Uganda.
Yes, indeed, we are trying to make sure that we speak in the language which people understand, but we also try to position water and environment resources as being key in building Uganda.
Taking services to the people.
Bring services to the people and get people to take ownership, and that's what we are doing. And that's why we have activities all over the country to make sure that we are taking services to the people, but we are bringing that ownership. I think the challenge we have in the country is that mindset that the government is going to come and do things for us. We are telling people that the government can support you, but it can't support you 100%, because there are many things which can only be done by you as an individual. And if you come on board, then you get maximum benefit, and then you get out of poverty. And that's why, for example, if you are talking about the parish development model, we have been telling people that we are moving forward the parish development model, but you are not going to achieve its objectives and targets if you don't protect these resources. Because parish development model, what are you going to do that is not water, that is not environment? So if water is not available, are you even going to do any agricultural production? No. So again, we are saying, let's focus on these resources, let's manage them. And that's why for us, we're also saying, as we look at these resources, let's look at the climate. So our theme for this year is on water and environment.
Yes, I wanted to get there. What is the theme for this year? And you expound more about that theme.
Okay, indeed. Yeah, thank you. So the theme for this year, every year, the Water and Environment Week has a theme. So the theme for this year is Water and Environment for Climate Resilient Development. So what does that mean? We are seeing that we are having development. Development can take different forms. I just give examples which probably people can associate to. Right now we are constructing roads, and everybody is happy to have a tarmac road, a good maram road. But many of these roads are being washed away by just one rain event. So, and because the climate is changing, even those rainfall events are going to intensify. So if you are constructing a road and you are not bearing in mind how you protect it from those changes, then that road is not going to be able to stay to do the job. We need to make that road resilient to the changing climate. And we do it through proper management and protection of water and environment resources. We can protect that road by planting trees along the road so that the trees protect and reduce the speed at which the water is moving. We can protect that road by controlling the flow of water through protecting the area around a road, but also even maybe harvesting water so that you protect the road. So we are saying, for you to have development like a road, to have development like a dam, to have development like a school, a hospital, a health center, you cannot have those developments become successful, be there without looking at how they are affected and without ensuring that they are protected the changing climate. And that's why our theme is water and environment for climate resilient development. If we were to present it in a full, we see sustainable water and environment resources management for achieving resilient development. So we want to manage, we want to protect these resources so that we can have developments that are resilient. And that's why during this week we are going to be having a number of themes. Number one, for example, we're having a theme on policy, legal and institutional framework for climate resilient development. We want to reflect, do we have adequate policies? Could there be gaps? We have adequate laws, but do we have institutions? Yes, we have them, but are they working with each other? Are they coordinating? Or they are undermining each other? So that will be one sub-theme. The other sub-theme is going to be on climate resilient communities, ecosystems and infrastructure. Do we have communities which are climate resilient? Do we have infrastructure which are climate resilient? Do we have the ecosystems which are climate resilient? What are the experiences? What do we do more to ensure that they are resilient? The other one is on capacity and partnership. Do we have adequate capacity? Do we have enough partnerships to make things work? Again, you can never have everything, every expertise, all resources. You need to work with each other. So in that sub-theme, we are going to explore what partnerships do we have? What capacity do we have? Do we have enough people? Do we have institutions that are strong enough to respond? and what do we do? So we'll be having, and then the final one is innovating financing mechanism. Where do we get the money? Are we going to be depending on asking government to give money? The donors, is it enough? Is there any other way that we can generate money? Again, during this event, we'll be having people who are experts who are going to set us off and give what is called a keynote. Then there will be having 6 people who will be debating. One, for example, from private sector can say, no, for us we think this is the best. Another one from academia, and at the end of the day we'll be capturing what has come out. And all of that now will form a basis for recommendations. And towards the end, we'll be having high-level people that will be discussing what are the outcomes of the Uganda Water and Environment Week and how do we move them forward. Yes.
Yes. Is this a Ugandan activity or it is global?
It started as a Ugandan activity, and it is indeed still Ugandan activity, but has a global audience. As I speak now, the person who is going to be giving us overall talk on this overall theme will be speaking from UK. He is based in London. And he's going to speak because we now have an option for online participation. So so we have about 4 or 5 speakers who are going to be speaking from outside. Others are here. But we're also having many people from outside who are participating. Again, because we have an online option. So it is Ugandan, but with...
What I mean is, for example, there are days which are global United Nations gazetted days, like the World Women Day, World this day. There are so many of these type of days.
Okay. So thank you very much.
I wanted to look at.
Okay, fine. So as we celebrate Uganda Water and Environment Week, we celebrate 3 international days. We have World Water Day, which is celebrated world over. We have World Meteorological Day and World Forest Day. So the Uganda Water and Environment Week coincides with those, so we celebrate those 3 international days. But we also add in many things because we feel that beyond those days there is much more. So when we are choosing a theme and sub-theme, we always look at Uganda situation and then we relate it with the international days.
So how is the water situation globally?
The water situation globally, of course, there are some areas which have too much, others which have too little. But the global water situation generally is not good, especially in developing countries in Africa. Water is available, yes, but people don't have water. We normally call it economic water scarcity. That you have water, but you can't access it because you can't bring it to your home or to your compound. So the quality of the water, again, in many African countries, they are struggling. The quality is poor. So to treat that water to make it suitable for consumption is not.
This, for example, I'm told in Somalia, water is more expensive than any other basic commodities in the house.
Indeed, dry areas, semi-arid areas like Ethiopia, if you go, for example, to Middle East countries, water is more expensive than oil because it is not readily available. So, but again, if you come to Uganda, then people take it as really available and
it's very free space in the
very
villages.
Free in the villages. Yeah. So again, depending on the situation, that's why those countries will value. You go to Egypt, water is very valuable because the whole of Egypt and every Egyptian knows about water. You ask them, they know, and for them, they consider it to be their water. If you touch it, then they will kill you.
So, sir, still on these celebrations, I want to exhaust the debate really about this celebration. Is it purely national? Is it village? For example, a man in Soronko, a man in Bulambu listening to what does he gain from this type of Water Day celebration?
Now, as I said, we call it Uganda Water and Environment Week, but it's many weeks. So the people out there have already been engaged. As I speak now, this week, we have ended most of the celebrations in the various parts of the country. So we don't, of course, go to every village. That would not be possible. But every year we choose a location where to go to. We engage the people. Some of them, for example, somebody who is listening to me would want to know, how do I protect myself from these challenges? So we have, we have solutions. And those solutions are discussed with them at that level. But when we are having this discussion, we say, by the way, you have a problem here, but there is a community there which has already solved the problem. We also, as part of our programs, we have exchange visits. We move one community from, say, Borambuli, we take them to Soroti. We have been getting communities, say, from Soroti, we take them to Kabale. We get them from Marua, we take them to Kabarore. So again, those exchange visits. So again, as part of this engagement, we are getting people to say, don't lose hope. You have a problem, but there are solutions, and many of the solutions are with you. And then people say, you mean I can do this? So we are using this as an opportunity to share, because sometimes you may have a problem and it kills you, thinking that you are the only one suffering from it. And yet there are many other people who have actually solved it. So for the common people, we have solutions, but also have trainings. We have engagements. In some areas, we have trainings. On the ground, training the people. How do you, for example, construct a water harvesting structure, small check dam to store the water? But how do you, for example, utilize this water even for irrigation? Small things which the people can do. And in many of these areas, you find when people have never done it, and then they are taken to the community which has done it, they come back when they are fired up. So again, we are using this as a way of sharing, as a way of getting people to learn from each other, and really as a way of getting the situation to get better, because we always believe that we need to find medicine for our problems, and the medicine may be with us, but we don't know what it is.
So this event will climax on which day?
Yes, so again, as I said, Uganda Water and Environment Week is a week that is starting on Sunday, tomorrow, 12th March 2023. And we are going to, we normally have it live on TV. It starts
UBC will be one of them, of course.
Yes, UBC will be one of them. We'll be having it also on NBS. NBS has been having a good partnership with UBC TV. So for the last years, we have been working with these two. And so from 2 p.m. on Sunday, 12th March, to 5 p.m., we'll be having live broadcast. And we'll be having interesting speakers. Of course, our guest of honor is going to be the Right Honorary Speaker of Parliament, who is going to be the guest of honor. And I'm sure she will be having very good messages for Ugandans. We'll be having our partners, development partners. We'll be having the churches. We're having one archbishop, the archbishop of the Orthodox Church is going to be one of the guests. We're having the Buganda Kingdom. We're expecting the Katikiro to be there and a number of Uganda Kingdom officials. Then we are going to be having people from all different stakeholder groups to speak. And then after, we are, again, as I mentioned earlier, we are having somebody from UK, International Water Management Institute, who's going to be giving an overall presentation, and is going to now be talking about this theme, sharing experiences from all over the world, and trying to get us to appreciate what we
because
can
someone will ask, why should I go to this event? Is just to go and listen to speeches? I don't know.
No.
What sort of excitement and
right now, it's not about speeches. For example, starting Sunday, we are going to be having exhibitions. Those who are able to come, we are going to be having people exhibiting many things. For example, there is an organization that is going to be exhibiting how they are turning plastics into wealth, profit. And then people can run and get money. We are getting those who are going to say, this is how we process mushroom. This is how we add value. So
water and sanitation type of
all of these, again, we are having people are creating businesses around sanitation, turning waste into wealth. So all of those are going to be there, but also there will also be people who will be
because
sharing.
This event is here in Luzira, but someone in Banda, in Kireka, in Kamu can be say, hey, why should I really spend money to go to just hear speeches and some little music? And
that's why we are telling people that it's not just about speeches. There are many things which are going to take place. We'll be having a demonstration of innovative technologies. We'll be having short trainings where you come and you are given practical training and learning. Then we shall be having people who will be sharing, but most importantly, the exhibition that are going to take place where people learn and meet. But of course, again, as I mentioned, it is not only this week. We have had many activities. As I speak, all around the country, we are having those activities. So people, wherever they are, they can actually participate, and we have been having awareness meetings, awareness events on radio, on TV, getting people to understand, and in many of those areas, again, as I said, the work. We have heard the
yes, I wanted to bring that worker specifically. Talk to me about this working. I've been watching on television. Who participated? How's the state? How is it? What are the gain? And was it your innovation or it was NGOs? I don't know.
Yes, Uganda Water and Environment Week, we always bring in new things. Every time we bring new innovations. Every year we bring innovation. But of course, our approach is partnership. We don't work alone. Even when an idea is ours, we work with others. Even when a partner has an idea, we embrace it. For example, this year, we are working with a partner called Promote Uganda and Rotary International. Today, we are having a run for the Nile. They brought the idea, we bought into it, and we are all working on it. So we have a team that is in Jinja running for the Nile to raise funds to protect the Nile, to reduce on plastics going there, and generally to help improve the welfare of that. So the work is being done collaboratively with an association called Uganda Workers Association. The association of people who do professional working. So we work with them, and they are raising awareness. They are getting people to buy into this idea of conservation. They are getting people to realize that there are many challenges but can be solved by working together. Get people to really appreciate the importance of corrective action. Mm-hmm. So this work started in the Kingfisher development area in Chikube, where oil is being drilled, and it has taken 320 kilometers, and it has lasted 11 days and just ended yesterday. It started on 28th February and ended on 10th.
Are you giving some awards, some medals?
Yes, I don't know. We did. For us, we don't give medals, we give awards. So yesterday, the Honorable Minister of Water and Environment gave awards to the workers and certificates of appreciation, and also hosted them to a cocktail, a welcome cocktail from the field. Again, to appreciate the benefit, and really gave them wise words, but the workers passed also via Parliament. Right. And they met members of Parliament who really encouraged them. He also indicated that they have been following. The workers handed over a statement to Parliament, and the statement is going to be discussed in Parliament. Again, some resolutions out of that, I expect. And the members of Parliament assured us that they are going to make sure that the issues that the workers have seen along the way, some areas say poor quality water, people don't have access to water, the destruction of Bugoma forest, and many other things, we feel that the members of Parliament are now going to take them up.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, whenever you organize or when you appear on public shows, television and radio shows, and perhaps you are on general life, and people know that you are from water, what are some of the common questions the people put to you, both experts and ordinary people, and how do you respond to such questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, many people will be raising issues, say, my area doesn't have water. What can we do to get the water? And my response is say, well, we haven't been able to serve every Ugandan, but we have plans to serve Ugandans. And I tell them that let's know where you are calling from, and our team will reach out, and then we tell you the plans we are having. That's the number one. Another one also, people raise the issue of wetland degradation. They say, wetlands are being degraded. Why is government allowing this? And I always tell them, I say, look, wetlands are degraded by you and me. Some are untouchables, others are touchables. Now say, government will do its part, but also have a role also to, first of all, report and also even take action, because the wetlands are affecting us. So I always tell them, I say, when you get a challenge like that, report, and then we'll take action. But don't leave the problem only to government alone. You also have to play an active role and make sure that you move forward.
Yeah, those are the questions. Then what are some of the suggestions that come from the members of the public, including experts, of course?
Yes, some of them, of course, suggest and make suggestions, and they say, why can't the government release these wetlands people and they look after them if you have failed to act? So they say, give me a wetland and I look after it, and then you see whether the people are touching it. But also even people, some of the suggestions that people are giving is, can't the government, for example, work with other partners to actually provide a service. There's what is called self-supply. That can't you mobilize the people to provide some of these services by themselves and also ensure that they take action? Then some of them, of course, proposes let government increase on the number of the environment police so that you enforce everywhere. Then you say let the government provide more money to water and environment so that you can do more. So people will come with different suggestions depending on where they are coming from, and we always listen to all of them and see how we address them.
Do you think the public, the ordinary people, appreciate your services? Are you being felt on the ground, or it's just a by the way?
Well, I think the feedback we always get on water, I think people appreciate our services. When we provide water and you see the celebrations that happen, you really feel that people have appreciated the service. Of course, what we need to do is to make sure that we cover the whole country so that people appreciate. Of course, there are some areas where people come and say, oh, our water is not coming, and we always respond. For example, like National Water, we always pass over messages, tell people we are going to have water shortage, use water sparing. So what, of course, we try to do is to get out back to them. Even when there's a challenge, we feel that giving a feedback to people will relieve them of pressure, rather than just keeping quiet and then people are not aware of why there is a problem and how it can be solved.
We have a few questions remaining here. Also, time is also running out now. But sir, what are the major challenges facing your section or water services in Uganda, maybe also globally?
Well, the challenges, of course, are many. For water, of course, the challenge is number one is environmental degradation. We are having a challenge of environmental degradation, climate change, but also the cost of provision of water to treat it, to make it fit for purpose is there, and you find that the resources are limited. World over, in Uganda, we are having challenges that we are really not coping with the targets. Why? Because the cost of provision of water is actually going higher. Again, when the environment is degraded, the water gets polluted. Then the cost of treating the water is going higher. But also, even when you have degradation, then you find in some areas the water level table keeps going down. Then you are pumping water from very deep and you get the cost. But then also the other challenge is, of course, innovative technologies. Sometimes technologies are changing. We want to get innovative technologies. Now building capacity to get that becomes a challenge, and of course that's where we get out to work with our partners, stakeholders and funders to train our people. Capacity is the key. You may have the money, you may have institution, but if you don't have the people to do the job, that becomes a very big. Then of course the challenge with provision of water is people assuming that water is a free good, that is God given. You tell people you're going to say, but this water is free. It was given by God. Then people don't want to pay for the service. And when they don't want to pay for the service, then obviously you have a challenge with providing the service. Mindset generally of the people needs to be changed. But gradually with programs like this, the Uganda Water and Environment Week, we are gradually getting many people to appreciate why we do what we do and why certain challenges are faced and what we need to do collaboratively.
Okay. Finally, sir, what plans do you have for the future, you as a department and government in general?
For the future, again, if I look at water and environment, the future is really to provide every Ugandan access to safe drinking water and sanitation services. That's our plans. But we break our plans into short-term plans, of course manageable. Some are annual, others are 5 years. So we have a strategic plan. The future, and right now we are trying to make sure that we provide water, the piped water to the people. We don't want people to walk so many kilometers looking for water. So that's the plan. Bringing water closer to the people so that we reduce on the walking distance. Piped water, we are turning boreholes, which are being pumped by hand into motorized boreholes. The other plan is we want to ensure that we protect the water and environment resources. We have programs for catchment protection. Again, we want every user of water to actually contribute to the area which contributes water. We have developed policies which require everybody who is using the water, whether it is you are using it for irrigation or for hydropower, to also contribute, put money to protect that resource. We call it catchment management and water source protection. Then the other plan is focus on livelihood, improving people's livelihoods and incomes, using water and environment resources. And we are now piloting programs related to that. We have created water and environment cooperatives in various parts of the country, and they are undergoing pilot. We want to see how do we get cooperatives around water, so that people look at the water, but they use water for productive purposes, environment. And it's showing promise. We are bringing the stakeholders together, and these are the people who are looking after these resources. We are also going into business incubation. How do you create businesses around water and environment? So we are going in those uncharted territories, but of course we also want to also open up space. Actually, the direction we are taking is partnerships. We are calling upon partners. Recently, we wrote to all the universities in Uganda to partner with us. We are engaging with them. We are moving ahead to partner with cultural institutions, with religious institutions, private sector. We feel that we are stronger through partnerships. And we feel we can, and again, that's why we're partnering with the media houses like UBC, radio and TV. We feel we are stronger working with you to inform people, because we can't inform people by ourselves. We depend on you. So working with you, we feel that you will also appreciate what we do, even when we are not there. Even as you are running a program, you even talk about issues of water and environment. And I'm hoping that in your next programs, you'll be able to pick some of these issues we have discussed and raise awareness so that many Ugandans can benefit from this information.
Thank you very much, sir. Your name and 1 minute to people listening to you right now on Ground Zero program.
Yes, again, I'm called Dr. Kalisti Ndimugaya. I'm a Commissioner for Water Resources Planning and Regulation in the Ministry of Water and Environment. I would like to take this opportunity to thank UBC Radio for hosting me. You have given me time to expound and explain to Ugandans issues of water and environment, and I do hope that those who have listened in or are listening in are appreciating that issues of water and environment touch everybody, they touch all of us, and they need to be addressed by all of us. I also want people to appreciate the importance of the Uganda Water and Environment Week. I want to call upon everybody to come and join us to celebrate the Uganda Water and Environment Week starting tomorrow, 12th March 2023. And you run with us. You can participate by coming to the Ministry of Water and Environment, but we have a number of programs which will be live on TV. We have those which will be live on social media, on radio, so you can participate even from wherever you are. And I want to thank our sponsors and partners really for supporting us to reach this far. We wouldn't have reached this far in the Water and Environment Week without you. And we feel we are strong because of you, and I want to assure you that we will continue working with you, committing ourselves to deliver on our expectations for the benefit of Ugandans. And again, I hope that everybody will continue to be part of the Uganda Water and Environment Week. This is an annual event. This is the 6th one, and of course, after we finish this, we'll be having another one. The walk will be there. We'll be having a walk to other parts of the country, different activities. So I want to call upon everybody, look out for the Water and Environment Week activities and the programs of the Ministry of Water and Environment. Once again, I want to thank UBC Radio and the whole UBC fraternity for giving us this opportunity as the Ministry of Water and Environment. And again, thank you very much. I'm Dr. Kalisti Ndimugaya, Commissioner, Water Resources Planning and Regulation in the Ministry of Water and Environment. I thank you.
Dear listener, we have come to the end of our Ground Zero program this Saturday, and our guest has been the Commissioner for Water and Environment, Dr. Kalisti Ndimugaya, and we've been focusing on the Uganda Water and Environment Week. Until next weekend, I am Henry Baguma, together with my production crew, Herbert Kigundu, now saying happy water celebrations.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
As Uganda works towards Vision 2040, UBC Radio is dedicated to the development of Uganda. Join us every day for transformative programs in English, Swahili, and Luo. This is UBC Radio.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize with the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health. Entertainment. Updates in education. On the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.